as a kid.
Sure.
Wow.
Or no, that was me. That was me, and I rode the short bus. And also the Asian sensation, Froden, dude.
What's going on, man?
What a weekend, man.
Wow. Yeah.
What a weekend. Amazing. All I had to do was say the word Canada, and 3,000 people screamed and went nuts. That is esports, ladies and gentlemen. Well, tonight is the recap of the esports North American Star League Season 3 Finals. And I want to first off thank so many people that showed up, that were so courteous and kind to all of us to visit Canada. And as we go through the breakdown of this evening, I want to remind everybody that it's open phones tonight. The phones are going to open probably about 11 o'clock. We're going to go through some stuff, talk about some important, topics of this weekend and why I have my guests on this weekend. And you can access Skype, or you can call in at JG Clutch. It's right there on the overlay. So first off, NASL Season 3, 9 weeks. Somebody has feedback going on just to see on the stream. I don't know if it's Froden or Wigan there.
I was hearing it a little bit too. I think
Okay.
it was on Froden's end.
Me, then I'm gonna get headphones.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man. 9 weeks. 9 weeks building up to this event. Watching NASL Season 3 really was awesome to see the improvements that they had made. Impressive. But Wigan, first off, since you were a spectator that you watched online, what was your initial reaction overall to the event?
I think, kind of like you were saying, man, each one has been a pretty massive improvement. I mean, you can still kind of make the jokes about the sound guy, but that's kind of like extended series with MLG at this point. It's just kind of a joke. But yeah, for the most part, it seemed really seemed like they really had their stuff together. It was really great to watch. I don't know, I guess, are we going to get into the format a little bit more later? I don't want to go too much into it, but...
Yeah, we will get into the format of the actual finals, but just kind of going overall the build-up into the finals from the season itself.
It's really cool to see it as like you said, the build-up, right? They've been playing this whole season, then it comes down to it, and you have to place top 4 to make it worth it, right? So it's like every game was important, every game was tense. And they did a really good job running the WCS along at the same time. That was pretty entertaining too. So I was impressed, man. It was pretty good.
It was very good. Froden, your reaction, if you will, of the entire season. I mean, you were more involved than any of us, being part of the regular season all the way up to the finals. What was your experience working almost every day and having some great events, every weekend with the Barcrafts and stuff? How would you describe your experience for the entire season?
Yeah, the entire season was just brilliant. Like, it's because I think seeing the transformation in Season 2 and Season 3 was just kind of ridiculous. I think everyone always kind of expected things to get better over time, right? Because like MLG started off in 2010 where they were struggling a little bit because they didn't really have seats, really. They didn't even have a really designated area. They kind of had an impromptu tournament. And then they scaled up production like crazy. Same thing with IPO, right? They started really ramping it up. And all these big tournaments really stepped it up. And a lot of people kind of saw NASL was falling off, even though they had a pretty big prize pool and everything. But then Season 3, they just literally took everything feedback-wise and kept it to heart and really tried to change a lot of stuff. And it's not even just, the casting. It's not just the production. It's just everyone. Everyone worked harder. Everyone worked together. I was told that there's just more people at the office, makes it a more lively environment as well because they brought on like 5 to 7 more employees and stuff. So they were really serious about changing the work relationship of everyone there. And I really enjoyed it. I think, we can say production-wise was good. I also really enjoyed like how there's like a league format because there's every night we can expect content. So NASL is always great for that, and I just really enjoy just being part of the team.
And that's a really good strength to have as a league, is that you have the nightly content that people can continually watch those matches and see dramatic storylines that unfold over that 9-week span into the finals. And other leagues have different kind of formats and they have certain strengths as well, but I really think that NASL has filled that void and is continuing to fill that gap of having the nightly content, the nightly matches. and how the season really builds up to the end, and people can seriously watch players every week building into a big finals, and that was really cool. Speaking of players, let's talk about the storylines that were leading up into the finals. First off with Puma. Puma, being the only Terran that was at the finals, but he being the only NASL champion at the finals as well, winning the two previous events. Froden, did you think there was any kind of added pressure for him being the champion before, or even being the only Terran at the event?
Yeah, of course. The biggest thing is that he went to MC, who, all the cast just kind of sat down and said, well, if this tournament was played 100 times, who would win the most? And all of us kind of mutually agreed to be MC, and obviously there's people that are more than capable of winning it 5, 6 out of those 100 times and really taking their chunk. But we thought MC would win the huge majority. So it's really tough being matched up against MC in the first round, and especially because a year since NASL Season 1, MC's gone on to be a world champion in every single other tournament series, and Puma's kind of been relegated to NASL and a couple IEM events. So overall, MC was just the stronger favorite. And I don't know, it just makes me sad because I feel like Terran's just struggling more and more, and it's becoming more evident. And it was single elimination as well, so it's just Puma lost and that was it. We didn't really see him the rest of the weekend. That made me a little bit sad. So I would have loved to see him potentially make a comeback, especially imagine, man, it's the one Terran makes a comeback to the losers bracket and gets to the finals again. That'd be pretty cool. We've never had the opportunity.
Yeah, considering that NASL is a major tournament, which it is, along with the other tournaments, how Terran, the numbers, I believe out of 35 matches, only 3 have been Terran victories. It's less than 10%. It's pretty tough. Wigan, any comments on that, since you're a Terran player along with myself?
I don't know, man. It's a little bit hard to watch tournaments because there's no Terrans to root for in them most of the time. But other than that, I mean, I think everybody knows that TVZ is kind of in a bad spot for Terrans. And it just kind of sucks because that was always my favorite matchup to watch, and it's kind of gotten a little bit hard to watch. But I'm sure people will figure it out. I mean, that's just how StarCraft 2 goes. You just have rotating times when one race is in a really good spot and when it's not. And it'll all work out in the end. It just kind of sucks for now. There's definitely some issues the Terran players are having.
Yep, same.
Especially when you see a lot of really good Terrans have really bad times, watch them streaming, and then they switch to Zerg and just mess around and the Muslim can't be Zerg all day, and then he just plays against 4GG as Zerg with no practice and wins. It's oh, okay. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, this also is a repeat of history with StarCraft and then Brood War. It took years for things to be ironed out to make it the balanced game that it was, and created the legacy of Brood War. And we still have 2 more installments of StarCraft 2, if you will, of Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void. So there's going to be some changes coming out, and I do feel that it is a lot more difficult for me to play as Terran on the ladder, and I'm nowhere near the pros in any sense, but even today and Inside the Game, a young kid called in and asked if it was pretty much the same for the Masters and above for the rest of the league, if it was harder to play Terran, and the Muslim said yes, it is. And
that's reasonable.
It is reasonable. And seeing Terrans perform, at the level of Puma, at the level of a MVP and other players, their mechanics and their APM is incredible, but they still are having problems. And also to bring up the patch, the patch's been out for a while, and of course there's going to be a time that it has to settle, that Terrans have to adapt, and I think that's reached pretty much the end of that time frame of where that adaptation has to happen because of the patch, and now it's looking more of Blizzard. What's happening here? So we'll see what happens. Maybe it is some sort of wall that Terran players have to break mentally, that they have to think outside the box, if you will, of playing Terran, but I think that time has passed and it's something else. But you know what? We don't really talk a lot of balance on this show because there's way more important things to talk about. More storylines here. With Huck, talk about pressure, man. The hero of Canada, as I introduced him, and the crowd. This, to me, rivals the Kespa introduction of how hyped the crowd was. Now, they didn't have the same number, but it was gosh darn close volume-wise. I mean, it was audibly destructive how loud the people were for Huck's entrance. But you have to think, he has the flag draped around him. He announces to his fans that he's going to be there in a pretty pretty cool fashion on Twitter, and I believe he had family and friends there as well. So it was a huge moment for Canada, and despite his performance against Alicia, Canada was still behind him, and they still will be behind him, just like all of his fans. And to me, that is something deeper than just talent or skill of a player. It's that national pride, and to know that there is one Canadian that has been a professional for a while, and he's a Canadian American, dual citizenship. But he takes that badge of honor from Canada seriously, and I believe that if there was another Canadian tournament, that Huck would want to be involved and would want to be prepared and ready, just like he felt he was prepared and ready for this tournament. Froden, you studied a lot of these players. Your introductions were amazing, by the way. Were you able to interact with Huck at all during the event?
Yeah, actually, he went out of his way to say hi to me, which was really cool, because I actually never talked to Huck before that. But he was like, "Oh, hi, Froden," and he was just like saying like, "How are you?" And he was like really cheery. Like, he was really happy to be at the NASL finals.
Yeah.
And I talked to him like, "Chris, what do you want for like, what would you love for your intro music?" And he's like, "Oh, I want the Canadian anthem by this person." Like, they did a rock version of it, and he was like really pumped up to do it. And then today I caught some of those pictures on Reddit where it's like the players watching their own intros, where I'm sitting there like talking, and I saw like Huck's face, and you just see like that stress level, like everything just started settling in, and it was heartbreaking, man, because again, we talked about the tournament between the cats a lot, like how MC, if the tournament was played 100 times, he'd probably win the most. But we'd say that who we'd want to win every single time would be Huck. Like, we would want him to claim it. If not him, it would be Stefano. Stefano was like our number 2 heart choice. And but it was really tough, because you could tell the crowd wants something to cheer for. And you see how loud they got for Scarlett, like when she won WCS. Can you imagine how loud the floors would have been shaking? Solid concrete would have been trembling if Huck got really far in NASL.
Gun Run would have set the place on fire, he said. If he it would have been a riot. It was a riot of him just walking down the red carpet. And to me, that is a part of esports that is so beautiful and so motivating. It kind of transcends the win-loss numbers. And that is a great thing. And we've seen that in traditional sports. When the Chicago Bulls, for years, when they were walking out onto the court and they played the song from the Alan Parsons Project, and the crowd just goes nuts, man. That was the 90s, and seeing that dynasty. To me, it reminds me of that, of how enthused people got behind their players. And Huck has had a great career so far. He is a very, very accomplished player. And he has a lot of life left in him in StarCraft 2, the game itself, all these players. But it's really heartbreaking to see. It was tough for me to see him walk out of the booth after his loss. It's hard for me to imagine how it felt after those losses. But he's gonna get through it. It's part of being a professional player. You do have those heartbreaks. Sometimes you have the lowest of lows, but you also have the highest of highs. And he has had that in the past when he won MLG Orlando. That was an amazing, amazing moment, and his father was there. So Canada's still behind him, and they were still behind the whole event. It was good to see that they weren't there, not solely for Huck. They were there for the entire event as well. So moving on here, let's talk about the 8-player structure and how this, in my opinion, really created a really cool dynamic story of what was going to happen this weekend. At different events, you have 256 players, 100 and however players that are fighting through the open bracket, seeded players and whatnot. And there's kind of a lot of stories that are missed or fall through the cracks of what's happening. And Wigan, you see a lot of stories that go down in the MLG tournaments, and you can see a lot of heartaches and kind of outcomes of what happened. What was it like for you as a spectator just to see pretty much every major match on the main stage for all the players that were there?
I guess I kind of have mixed feelings about the 8-player format. On the one hand, like you said, you get to see everything, and every game feels like incredibly important, which is it's huge. With an MLG, there's often a lot of games, especially for me as a ref, and I'm down in the player pit, that are like like losers bracket round 1 between a couple of random people. It's like, well, it's not as important as like the finals, right? With 8 people, every game is like everything's on the line, especially single elimination. It's so there's you always have that feeling like you have to watch that game, right? So that part was great. On the other hand, I felt like there weren't as many games, just in general, over the course of the weekend as you might see at other events. Mm-hmm. But I'm not 100% sure which I prefer, because it's kind of like a quantity versus quality thing, right? Do you want more games, or do you want games that feel super important the whole time? So I think it worked out great for this event, especially though, just because you had the WCS running at the same time. So you did have that alternative.
You had those 32 players over there, plus the CSL was happening. So it was just more than those 8.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So because the WCS was there, I think it worked out pretty great. I don't know how. I have no idea. Like season 4, how is it going to work out for their finals if there's no WCS there or anything like that? It'll have a different format. But yeah, the best part, like I said, was just that every game from day one, first series, was important and meaningful. And that guy could just be gone. He could have gone all the way there and played that whole season for nothing, like right there. And that made every game super intense.
Froden, your thoughts on the 8-player format and how it did really help to expand compared to other tournaments you've been to?
Yeah, so I guess we're really lucky that it even had, sorry about that. I'm trying to adjust the camera so that way
okay.
It's easier. But let me look at you intently while I explain.
You look good at all angles, man. It's all right.
All right, so we weren't even sure if we could bring 8 players. That's kind of why the prize structure ended up being the way it was. Just because 16 players to Canada would have been absolutely outrageously expensive. We started putting out a lot more expenses throughout the season. We got more camera technology, simple things like jibs, and just obviously giving out money on every match. So those kinds of things eventually racked up over time. We couldn't necessarily afford 16 players. We would love to obviously make every match really cool, and I'd be killing myself trying to do 16-player intros, but I would love every second of it. So the fact that we got 8 players there, we were like, yes, we were really happy we could even get 8 players to Canada, because if we only had 4, I think that would have been really tough. But I agree a lot with what Dave was saying. The quality of games was supposed to be focused on. Each match was supposed to be really important. That's why we want to have 4 events. It'd be every game that was presented was very crucial to how the weekend would play out. Nothing trivial, he lost this game, but he can kind of come back later and win anyways. It would be it's do or die. Every single game in the series can get you further or even more behind, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah, and
so I think the 8-player format kind of worked in that sense, but the games themselves were pretty bad, which I was kind of disappointed. But the crowd made up for it, and everything else was so good that people were just so hyped. I mean, people were cheering for Tribes, even though they didn't even know that much about the game. So it was just the atmosphere was just really good, regardless.
Yeah, and I think, especially what you said about how a lot of the budget was spread out over the year is something that I don't think a lot of people realized when they looked at that and thought, oh, only top 4 getting prize money or whatever the random drama there was about the prize pool. If you look at NASL Season 1 to Season 2, there was a pretty big improvement in the quality, but it was kind of what you'd expect from one season to the next. If you look at NASL Season 2 to Season 3, it's this massive jump. You went from games casted that were from replays and stuff like that with a bunch of different people to music videos and bulldozers with dirt and all kinds of crazy stuff, and you're paying people every week and stuff like that. So I think that the 8-person format, the way you guys did it, worked perfectly for this event. And it's kind of nice when something lines up like that. You have the WCS to fall back onto to give you a little bit more content. And I hope people do realize that so much of that budget went into things that happened over the course of the season, and you really saw that reflected in how much better the production and how much better the regular season of NASL was this time around.
Definitely. To me, it's like even surprising that we're even going over this, because to me, in my mind, it fit like 8 players, fits, move on. It wasn't really a thing to compare to. And then taking a step back after the event, it's more of, wow, this is different. This is different than other events we've been to, and it completely worked. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that they had 8, and having the WCS there, and having the other streams as well, and also catering to the French people.
Major ups to the French casters.
Yeah, and they did a great job from what I hear. I was able to watch any mix. We were busy, but it was truly awesome to have that. And there was so many French speakers there. I really was taken back by my lack of understanding of how prominent the French language is in Canada. I thought it was just mainly in the Montreal area, but and it is in a sense, but it pretty much is the alternate language of the country, and pretty much everything you see in terms of information, at least at the airport, was in English and in French. So I thought that was cool to cater to the French community. And I heard from the French casters that France loved it, that a lot of people from Europe tuned in to watch, and that was a really good thing that NASL did. So let's bring up the Canadian announcement. When NASL announced they're going to Toronto, Canada, Froden, did your Skype just light up from Canadians? Or did your Twitter just blow up?
Right before I joined NASL, I worked with Playhim, like a daily cup organization, and some people who admin and like who oversee it are from Canada. And they're like, "Oh my God, does that mean I get to finally meet you?" And so yeah, like everyone's just so excited. It's just the spirit of Canada is mind blowing. Just because they were so hungry. Like my favorite question to ask everyone was, "Is this your first like StarCraft 2 tournament?" They're like, "This is my first esports event ever." Like they've never really been to any other major premier tournament like this, and it's just like watching the giddiness on some of these kids who are high schoolers, and they're like, "Yeah, like I saved up 2 weeks worth of lunch so I could buy a ticket and come." I'm like blown away just by just the pure enthusiasm and like the childlike joy of how much they just enjoyed being at
that innocence.
Yeah, the innocence.
Oh, that fire! They had fire in their eyes that whole event, man, and they were super nice. So that's that stereotype of Canada when they're really nice, of the Canadians. Semi-true, man. They're super nice. Well, let's talk about the venue itself. Now, this was a tighter space compared to other convention centers in America. It felt like a one-plane hangar that could fit like a 747. But it was big enough to house a huge crowd, but left it in a way that the sound wouldn't be lost in the echo of the rest of the building. It just kind of encased the passion of everybody there and made it just that much more awesome, really, audibly and even visually. The problems of the venue were good problems to have from a production standpoint. Problems that we've seen at other leagues, at other tournaments, where there's not enough chairs. And I did see some smart people, hint to everybody watching, bring your own chairs, bring camping chairs, bring folding chairs. I saw a couple guys have that with drink holders and everything, and I went up to them and said, good idea, you know, smart guys. The location itself was about 40 minutes from downtown Toronto, but it was really close to the airport. So the venue felt like it was a good place to be. It was kind of a little bit of the tourist section of the airport area, just with some different hotels and whatnot there. But it was an area where they were used to having large groups of people be in that area, with the international center being that close. So it wasn't like it wasn't out of the way in terms of, you know, it wasn't down a dirt road or anything like that. It just felt it was part of Toronto, it was part of Canada. Froden, what were your thoughts on the venue?
The venue was good. I was like, man, this entire area is so cold. Like when I walk in the morning, it was like freezing. And so I walked outside, I gave people high fives, kind of like to warm up. And then like instantly, like as soon as I saw the line, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so hot. I kid you not, it was like 250 meters of, or like 500 feet. I don't know. I was counting in Canadian measurements. It was an insanely long line of people, and I was like, oh man, it's going to flare up like crazy in terms of temperature. It got really hot. There were people who didn't shower, and you could smell everyone, but that was just like, at one point it was just ridiculous, because I know some people were like having headaches and stuff because it was really hot, but it was super loud. But again, I think those are good problems to have, because it just like, it's like a real rock concert or something. Like people really gathered and flooded the entire venue. I think The only problem I felt with the venue was we could have utilized space a little bit better. Like, I think it would have been a good opportunity to to bring some of the sponsors into the back, maybe, or even have more seating arrangement, or even do the thing where, like, after like Halo or like at League of Legends or whatever game ends, they put whatever game's still playing on the other screens. I think that would have been good too in the back, so people could have been able to flock to the back if they couldn't get a seat. Because at one point it was really big fire hazard because we weren't expecting everyone to show up.
It was really cool to see people crowding the red carpet between or during the matches just to sit down. And then security would have to come out there. And everybody was really accommodating. They would get up and get out of the way so we could have people come down the red carpet. But those aisles were full. You couldn't walk through them. That's how many people were there. And then, of course, so many people standing in the back. But again, Canada showed up. They totally showed up. And there was also food right there in the venue. And drinks and whatnot, so it was really easy for people to go out and get something, and I think there was a vendor outside with hot dogs and whatnot. So so they were accommodating food wise. You didn't have to really leave you didn't have to leave the room really to get something to eat. The first day was really hot. I think the room was like running out of oxygen, and when I was going back and watching all the VODs and seeing my face and how sweaty it was, and I have to remember to clear my face of all the sweat. It was super hot because of the body heat of all the people, but it was worth it. I hardly heard anybody complain really.
No, they were complaining. Yeah. They were shouting. I think me and Greetorp casted the last series of the day, and it was absurd because it was like 14th hour in. People had been there since like 7 in the morning lining up. It's 9 at night, and we're casting. They're still like cheering as loud as they can, and I'm like croaking like a frog. Like I'm like barely trying to talk. Like I was trying to shout, but it made me quieter because that's at one point like how much we've been casting. But they were still really loud. And we had like some of the most diehard esports fans, just fans of anything ever. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Dave, as an online spectator, what were your thoughts of the venue and shots of the crowd from the camera?
I mean, from what I saw, it's pretty hard to get a really good feel of what a venue looks like from watching on the stream. From what I saw, it was pretty good. The crowd, the crowd, man, it was packed. I wish they had gotten a few more mics on the crowd, because for the majority of the time you really couldn't hear, and it was like I've from going to MLGs and things like that. I know how the crowd gets, and I know like listening to you do an introduction and raising your voice. I know the crowd's there, but I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So it sounds a little weird.
It was when I was watching the VODs. When I'm watching the VODs and I'm going, red, for a while, and then all you hear is just my voice and nothing behind it. I go, well, that does kind of sound funnier, doesn't it? When the crowd's going nuts, I can't even hear myself either through my ears or through the system, and it's so loud, and I'm just going on until I finish red. It just kind of it sails off into the crowd, if you will, of that sound. But when you hear the mic, you just hear me go, for a while. Yeah. And I thought, I think
next time, promise, do a little echo. Be like, red, 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 red.
Yeah, I just found it to be kind of funny. And DeMuslim actually on Twitter said, I love Clutch's hosting, but it's like getting kind of, I don't know, monotonous or old doing the hype stuff over and over again. And when I was watching on stream, I could understand the mentality, but being there in the venue, the crowd went nuts every time. And I felt that if I didn't hype every player, every chance that we had, it would kind of undersell the crowd being hyped. I was responding to the hype and the excitement of the crowd and the volume of the crowd as well. And so many people came up to all of us and thanked us for the event, and so many people came up to me and said, dude, it wouldn't have been the same without you. Those intros were amazing. Rhett loved his intros. He came up to me and told me. So to me, having a live fan or a comment to my face is worth exponentially more than a comment on the internet. But I could understand where kind of the critiques were coming from of, like, Clutch, you're kind of weird. But
it did, like I said, knowing what was actually, like, in my mind, I knew what was actually happening at the event. But it did, like, if I had never been to a live event, it would have seemed a little bit strange, just because the crowd wasn't really mic'd right. But other than that, I mean, The crowd shots I did see, that were great, especially crowding around the red carpet. You almost couldn't even see the red carpet. It looked like a UFC like fighter intro, especially when I can't remember who it was, but they had like a couple managers behind them, like walking behind it. So it literally looked like a UFC fighter, like coming out to the cage, like to music through the crowd, high fiving people, getting hyped with like his posse behind him. Everything. It was really cool. It was just a really cool like visual to see.
Yeah, and it was just, I mean, by the last day, I was just laughing every time Josh or Clutch would introduce someone, because he started getting, like, even more epic and try to, like, get the crowd really into it, so it'd be like, Alicia! And I was just laughing so hard, but the crowd really fed off that. I want to, like, emphasize that the crowd really, like, fed Clutch, and Clutch would, like, return it back, and, like, I mean, even before he would announce the name, people are building up, like, the clapping. It slowly gets louder. Slowly, people are whistling more. And by the end, like, even just before he announces the name, like, for Scarlett, like, just before he announced her name, people are going wild. And, I mean, you could feel the atmosphere. People were singing the Canadian anthem. It wasn't even the finals. It was the winner bracket finals. So, I mean, it was just one of those things where you really had to be there. And I'm really, like, disappointed in the fact that the stream didn't capture that, because I want to go back and watch the VOD and, like, relive that excitement, but I know it's gonna just be like this super awkward moment where Josh is shouting to like 2,000 people and no one's saying anything.
Yeah, but you know what? We all learn, man. And this being NASL's third event, and looking at MLG's 60th event, even the MLG crowd pales in comparison, audio-wise, on the stream compared to in real life. I mean, you can maybe hear a couple people up front cheering, but it was deafening being on that stage at MLG Anaheim, and it was deafening being on the red carpet for NASL. And the people that were there will tell you the same thing. And hopefully soon that they'll have those long boom mics that hang from the top of the rafters that'll be able to hear or pick up the crowd better, have that great crowd noise, because I really think it really projects that energy of the crowd to the stream viewer, so that they feel, wow, I got to go to one of these events, man. It's just like Dave, you know, going to a Redskins game, being involved in that crowd and how loud they are compared to just watching it from home. So.
Well, except if you go to an esports event, usually someone you're rooting for will win.
Yeah, I was about to say usually.
But
usually,
yeah, if there's one thing I could say to anybody who's never been to an event, it's just like, seriously, why not go? It's one of the coolest experiences I've had in my life.
Yeah. Well, the Canadians definitely showed up, super nice. They wanted a StarCraft 2 event for a while. The last time that I know of that a major esports event was in Canada was the 2008 MLG event, and it was mostly for Halo. So, being this, the first StarCraft 2 event, and so many people, as I said, on stream at NASL, so many Canadian fans had come up to me and said, when is an esports event going to come up to Canada? And I was like, I don't know. I would love for it to happen, but I don't know what's going to happen. And when NASL made the announcement, so many people were excited, and so many people made the plans to go and to support it, and so many people that were involved in esports on a semi-pro level showed up as well to make it the best event it could be, and I was really grateful for that. Toronto itself as a city was fun. Frodo and I were able to walk around with the rest of the cast and crew to check it out, got some B-roll. Greetorp had a amazing moment there. Frodo, why don't you explain that? Because there was a part that was so funny at the end that got cut that people weren't able to see. But can you give us a breakdown of what Greetorp was trying to do?
Yeah. So they only caught like one shot of it, but he actually did it like 4 or 5 times, and it got progressively worse, like, because I think he was getting more tired, because he would run like a good 20 meters before like jumping over it, so he tired himself out. And the third one, he like barely got over. Like, he had to really cheat. Like, he sat down on it and like turned around and then jumped off. And so Lauren kind of said, like, wow, like I was saying, like, hey Andre, you're like slowing down before you're jumping because you're getting afraid. Like, you know, like when you long jump in the Olympics, you go full speed and you just go for it. And I was saying, you have to really, just go for it. And then Lauren just like turns over and she's like, listen, Andre, I think you lack commitment. And she said it in that way where it's just like, oh my God, no, I don't. And so he just like, he adjusted his waistband on his sweatpants, and he was like, all right, let's do this. So he like went for it, and then he like tried to jump over. He jumped so high that he got his foot, but he like slipped on it because he went barefoot because he took his sandals off, and he's like barefoot against a metal rack, went straight, and he almost face planted, but he broke his fall just in time. And afterwards, he like barely gets up. He's like, "Ow!" It's like it hurts. And I just peering over the camera. I'm like, "You can't write that shit." And I just like come right outside. And it was so funny, but they didn't want to keep that in. Otherwise, it would have. I guess they would have offended some people.
You would have looked mean.
Man.
You would have looked mean, maybe. I don't know.
I know. Yeah, but I was like saying this is real, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying like that. It was really funny series of events, but it only captured 1 second. It was still well done though. The editors worked really hard, by the way. Like I want to give a huge shout out to them because our graphics thing, like the intro video where everything's like built by like a CGI thing where it like digitally creates the image of the pro players. That was done by one guy who stayed up till like 4 or 5 a.m. like doing everything. After he took the players of the photos on media day, he would stay up all night like doing all that. So like it's just really impressive to see what we can do with so little resources. And I want to give a special shout out to Paul and Josh for doing like everything.
Yeah, the graphics were great, and having those intro videos for different players, and also for the grand finals, the videos that were summing up the road of the players of Stefano and Alicia was really cool. And also that I heard my voice in the videos, and Lauren's like, "You have a really good voice for the mic." And I said, "Thanks, that's why I do this." But I told her thanks, and it was a nice little affirmation to hear that in the editing process, that it kind of made the cut of introing the players, and how it really just hyped the crowd watching those videos to watch these just summations. And it wasn't a whole lot of the different play styles, games, matches that they had, and the road that got them to where they were, and how they were just waiting at the end of that red carpet to come on down, and the crowd was waiting for them as well. So let's shift gears here and talk about the entire event in general. I mean, the place was packed, super loud crowd all weekend long. There's one part of the tournament I just say Canada. I look at the camera and I say, I want everybody at home to see the power of fandom with just one word. And I go, Canada. And everybody goes, yeah! It just goes nuts. It was so... I almost felt bad, like I don't know if we came to a point that we're just abusing the word Canada, but every time we mentioned Canada,
we most definitely
they went nuts. Like, we need to fill time. I know. Mention Canada. Everybody loved the intros. The players loved the intros. The fans loved the intros. And the crowd for Hawk was audibly destructive. Now, I want to bring up the volunteers, and we could not have done this event without them. We had caster aides, we had people that were checking in on us all the time. We had so many different people that were from the gaming sphere, if you will, of Canada and the esports community of Canada that so wanted this event to happen. And I personally want to thank John and a lot of the people that checked up on us, that were ready and willing to make any sort of food runs that they needed to make sure we had water. And thank you guys so much for being there for us and for being so passionate about esports that you were there as volunteers. Couldn't have done it without you. Froden, any words about that?
Volunteers make the event. Like NASL Season 1 and Season 2, the setup was at least twice as long, maybe even 3 times as long. We finished on the first day that we got there because the amount of people that showed up. We had to turn away volunteers. That's how many people really want to get involved. And that's what makes it a great show. People look at what are some of the biggest biggest production teams or events that out there in all of StarCraft 2. DreamHack. DreamHack is entirely volunteer based. Like, everyone loves just going to that LAN party and setting up, and there's thousands of people who are willing to basically help us out for the love of the game. And I mean, volunteers are the crux of everything, so I really enjoyed working with all of them there.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And it's funny that you think about volunteers and what that word means, and some people think, well, it's people that want to do stuff for free. It's like, well, no, man, you do it because you're passionate about it. You do it because you want it to succeed, and you also do it because it looks great on a resume to say, hey, no, it does. I was a volunteer at NASL, and for future events, you can mention that to other people, and it's a good foot in the door. Also, networking. So if you have an opportunity to support esports in a volunteer position, I recommend that you do. And if you're nice and you're a hard worker, people will notice. I definitely noticed a lot of people that were working very hard and being very accommodating to us. So moving on now into the actual matches, into the actual event, the CSL. Froden, this was a blast to cast with you. This was my casting premiere at a major tournament. It was a lot of fun. Wigan, were you able to watch this section of the tournament at all?
I got to watch a little bit of it, not as much as I wanted to. I was a little bit busy, but I just generally like the idea, the idea of it, man. I hope it's something that continues and grows more and more. It's I talk a lot about growing local scenes, and the CSL is one way to just make that huge. It's great.
Froden, your
but
thoughts?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see too many of the games.
Yeah. Froden is such a good caster that the people at NASL trusted him to cast with me, since it was a bit of a gamble there. I mean, bit of a gamble you're taking if you never had somebody sit at the caster desk for your company. But overall, man, it was a blast to cast that. And the CSL, I did not participate in college because most people at the college I went to, I don't think even know what StarCraft 2 is, which is unfortunate. But it was a lot of fun. Froden, your overall thoughts before we talk about the individual matches?
Yeah. First of all, Josh, it was like an honor to cast CSL because at first they were like, yeah, we love Clutch's energy, but everyone's so tired. It's like, but Clutch is always on top of stuff. It's like he'll do CSL, right? Like Morgan asked me, I'm like, yeah, of course. And it's like, we were like, would you like to work with him? Of course, I'd love to work with him. So it wasn't like a thing that just had to happen, Josh. It was like everyone was really happy that we got to work together. And I think CSL, like Dave said, is really good in terms of growing the scene because it immerses part of our culture. Now it's starting to immerse into areas of education, and then slowly it can go into other areas. It's not just an entertainment field anymore. And I think that's where two things can really start to intersect and help StarCraft 2 become bigger. Because I know a lot of people get pulled into the game on campus. They say oh, this is a cool event, and then it happens on campus. Gigabyte happened on a college campus, and then people from that college campus that played StarCraft 2 caught their friends into it from there. So I think it's a cool way just to continue to get awareness out about esports.
It is, and like we both talked about in the actual cast itself, of having that community around you, that social group around you in college. And Wigan, you graduated a couple years ago, and a lot of colleges really having that social dynamic, that social structure and support. Being a person that's young, leaving your home, leaving your parents, leaving your family to be on your own for a little bit in the world, and to find people that have the similar interests in video gaming and esports and StarCraft, and how it's transitioning to StarCraft 2, and I feel getting bigger compared to what it was in Brood War. And to see an event that was between the University of Western Ontario and the University of Toronto to be showcased live at a major tournament was a really cool stepping stone for CSL in general. And to me was pretty special since I recently graduated from college. And when I was asked to cast, I at first thought, I don't want to step on anybody's toes here or take anybody's spot if they want it, but if they're asking me to do it, I'm going to say yes, and I'll say yes every time if somebody needs me to cast. I have a lot of respect for casters. It's not something that people can just jump in and do. I've cast in the past, and even observing while casting is pretty tough. I wasn't used to that.
You mean that ZVZ game?
Yeah, man. Having an observer is so nice when you can just focus on where they're going. But yeah, getting into the matches now, Astoji versus Hendralis. That ZVZ was one of the craziest ZVZs I've ever seen, man. And I was there for the Violet versus Symbol games at the MLG Arena. So watching this and watching how he canceled that third hatch and what he was going to do, and I was really looking for where's he going with this. It's hitting that 630 mark, and he made that Baneling nest. And I went, here's what he's doing. And then it morphed into dropping infestors into multiple portions of that side of the map and the different bases. That was nuts. That was crazy. And even going back and watching the VODs was a lot of fun to watch.
Absolutely. I think definitely Hendralis versus Stoji was good. I heard that there were some really good games too just if you follow Scarlett's run, because she was just dominant, and the only match she ever dropped was to Astoji, who she ended up facing in the finals as well. But it was just really funny because like Scarlett, I mean, I'm sorry, that's a different thing. But like Astoji played really well all weekend too for his team. I was starting to talk about WCS, but I know we're talking about CSL. But I really like enjoyed just the CSL format as well, because it's really teamwork. It's really supporting your friends. It's really that winning together mindset, because you can't just like solo carry everyone. It's not like Dota. It's more like League of Legends, man. Like everyone has to do their part. So I'm really happy for Western Ontario, because I know Astoji like really practices with his team. Even though he's a pro player, he spends time training all of his teammates, which is really cool.
Yeah. It was great to see. It was great to see that format and the support of people that were there, that went to the University of Western Ontario or Toronto. It was awesome. Froden and I were introduced as Clutch Fro by Sean Day9 Plot, so that was pretty cool. And big congratulations to the University of Western Ontario that won, and how they were showcased on stage. It was a lot of fun to do that. Any closing thoughts about that before we move on to the WCS?
Nope.
Okay.
Just watch CSL, and if you don't know about it, just go onto their website, cstarleague.com.
All right, Wigan, if we only had that when we were in college, man.
I know, right?
We would have been
so fun.
Would have been team captains. Me at ODU and you at Longwood would have been awesome.
Would have probably been the only one that played there.
Hey, you'd win every time.
Right.
All right, let's shift gears here and talk about the WCS. So, a lot of games were casted that unfortunately I wasn't able to check out because they had multiple streams at the event, and In Control and Idra casted a lot of those matches. Great to have those two guys there. This was the first time that Idra had casted in front of a huge live crowd, and he was very impressed, along with In Control, by Canada. And the top story from the WCS was Scarlett, all the way. I mean, she dominated. Just dominated.
Sure. Called it. Just saying.
Yeah.
Not that it was that controversial to pick that.
Yeah, well, Stoji and Doro being up there with the top three. I think a lot of people, were wanting to see Huck or see how far TT1 or even Drewby got. I actually haven't looked at the top 10 list. I know Huck got 10th place, so he is qualified along with everyone else that's in the top 10 to go to the North American finals. And I'm not sure if the top two automatically qualify for the global finals. I know for the United States one, both Vibe and Daisuke are going to go to the global finals, at least from my understanding. So, Wigan, did you have any matches that you saw that really stood out for you for the WCS, or any other storylines besides Scarlett?
I watched less of the WCS than I did of the main tournament, but
Me too.
well, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think of like a lot of big upsets or anything, but it pretty much went how I would have imagined. Stoji did really well. In fact, he played a lot better than I expected. Well, not a lot better, but he played a little better than I expected. He showed some really, really good games. I felt like Scarlett was the strongest player in that field the whole time, and she just kind of proved it. She played great the whole time. Doro, I don't know. I just kind of expected to see a lot of Zergs doing well. That the field for WCS Canada was really Zerg stacked, not just in like numerically, but their players were really strong. And is it top two that go global? I don't know. I know it's different for some reason for different regions. Like I think
it was top two for United States. I remember that I announced that on stage. I don't know about the other regions though.
Well, hopefully it's top two for Canada too, because those guys definitely deserve it. And to be honest, when in the Continental Americas one, I foresee a lot of the Canadian players doing really well there too. Man, they have a really strong field.
Yeah, I think Scarlett can take all of North America.
She could for sure. Yeah. I don't know, man. I think the biggest thing for me was the singing, though. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Well, I'm going to in a little bit, man. I'm going to, which is pretty cool. But Froden, did you have any thoughts about WCS that we haven't covered?
I think I really want to like get your guys' thoughts on like hosting those kinds of events like with in continuation with other big events. Like I know MLG held the WCS, USA Nationals, and then you have like other separate WCS events. Like for example, Tasteless Artosis are going. They went to UK, now they're going to Oceania. Like, do you like those events separate, or do you like them kind of mixed in? Because some people argue, like, if you're doing double duty, like for example, Huck had to do both. It's really tough to kind of transition back and forth, and like you're never being able to, especially if you take like a huge mental loss. Like, are you really able to just go from one tournament to the other just like that?
I think it's definitely harder on the players. Like, there's really no doubt about that. To have them both running at the same time, and we saw there were a lot of problems with, you know, MLG's tournament because MLG did their full tournament as opposed to like a smaller 8-man thing. And I think that if you are going to run both events, you have to. We don't have to, but it's definitely a better idea to do it kind of the way NASL did, with just a much more reasonable schedule for everybody involved. You know, if there's only 8 players in the main tournament, then it's not going to be nearly as taxing on players. I don't think there's really a problem with running them both at the same time, especially if you do it the way the NASL did, because you know, all those players got the exposure they deserved because people were able to watch those games over the course of the event. And I don't think WCS is quite big enough, and I don't know if Blizzard's invested enough to where they can run them. They can really run them on their own. I think it's a reasonable stepping stone to use other events to help run them. Especially since, you know, guys like MLG and NASL and stuff like that have a lot of experience running these live events, and running a live event is
super tough.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, and a ton of it is trial and error. So I think it'd be cool if eventually WCSs were something that were a thing that was big enough, and I hope it does get that way, because, you know, everyone loves rooting for their, you know, like hometown hero and everything, that they can run them on their own as a standalone tournament. But for now, I think they're doing the right thing, piggybacking on other events.
Logistically, it's budgets and money and whatnot. It's easier to combine events that are already established. When you do have a crew that understands the live production, to combine it with what's already happening. Plus, it broadens and kind of does that dual advertising of, hey, we're doing something for Blizzard and we're doing our tournament, and Blizzard is able to advertise that tournament more and talk about the WCS. So it kind of fits in already an established league program of these different leagues that have their tournaments. However, I feel that there needs to be a separate day, or at least a separate half day for that one tournament alone, or at least the winner's bracket and then end of the loser's bracket, and then have the grand finals on the last day on the main stage to really hype it and get everybody hyped for it. I just feel that scheduling-wise, it's really difficult for the players, like you guys said. I don't know what the solution is. You know, having even an extra day for these tournaments would cost millions or hundreds of thousands logistically. So with the individual WCS tournaments, though, like we saw with the UK, many people were like, well, the UK scene's not really that big, and they really showed up, and they had great stream numbers, and Red Eye did a fantastic job hosting, and Tasteless and Artosis were there, so it completely worked out. So I look forward to seeing more of those. We'll see how successful the other ones were. China was very successful. That happened this weekend. And then
that was amazing how they... Like, the production that went into the WCS China was so impressive.
I heard it was very impressive. I saw screenshots. I wasn't able to catch any video yet. But all of it leading up to China, man. Shanghai, China. I'd love to host for that. But I won't make a Reddit post. I won't make a Reddit post. Learned my lesson.
No, Josh. The last one went pretty well.
It did. It went really well. It went really well. But Blizzard loves me, so we'll see. But... you know, even if they have Red Eye host, that'd be fantastic. It's just that's going to be crazy, man. That event, I don't know how big it's going to be, but I think it's going to be huge. And you brought up the national anthem, and this is that national pride that I had spoken about in different interviews of how this is creating national heroes that get to compete in the international scene and broadcast and showcase their professional grade talent to the world. And this is what happened. Zoe, who is amazing, being able to meet her in person, she's a really awesome girl, very talented, been working in esports for over 5 years, and Day 9, need I say more, the guy is awesome. We're casting, and it was the winter bracket finals, and Scarlett won. And what was originally planned is that Scarlett was going to come backstage with me, and I was going to interview her about the match and preparing for the next match and who she'd rather face, either Stoji or Doro. And the camera guy wasn't back there. They didn't turn any of the mics on yet, and so since that was the plan initially, Zoe threw it out to me, and she said, well, it's time to go to the Lovely Clutch for an interview, and nothing happened. And so they're waiting. And Day 9's like, we're making sure everybody's prepped and how Lovely Clutch is and whatnot. And there was just about 5 seconds of dead air, and then Day 9's like, all right, we're going to transition away from that. And I ran out to the main stage to talk to him and be like, hey, guys, sorry about that, just, production thing, but I wanted to comment on the games and maybe interview Scarlett if she's still around. And if not, then we would throw it to a commercial. But when I came out, they were singing the national anthem. They started to sing it. And so I came out on stage, and I looked, and you can see in the VODs, and I put my hand on my heart just out of quick respect of Canada, even though I'm a U.S. citizen. And Zoe was like, stand up, go, let's go. Be proud of your country. And they stood up and sang the Canadian national anthem. And it was one of the coolest things I have ever seen in any sporting event, and will be one memory I will never forget. It was so amazing. And I was a little bit disappointed that the United States of America did not do the same thing when Root 5 won. They're like, yeah, he won, now move on to the next match for MLG. And to see that sort of national pride for their Canadian player was inspiring. And hopefully the United States of America took note of that and is taking notes of the rest of the WCS, so that hopefully next year when there is another WCS, we can fully support our United States players. And I was just really excited to see that. It was a truly beautiful thing. Froden?
It's tough, though, because, when they hosted Vive versus Daisuke, it was kind of, it felt just kind of out of place. Like, USA WCS just felt really hard to run, and I think that's why Dave or Wigan was hitting on.
Yeah.
That it worked because there were 8 players, and they were able to kind of weave it in there. Even then, WCS was like 32 people. Like, MLG had an insane amount of people. They had the open bracket with like 200 people there on top of like the 32 player pool, or I don't even know how many people are in the pool. Just like, it's an insane amount of people there, and there's just so much going on, and that's not the only game they have. And they have 2 other games going on at least, or 2 other main stages with lots of games. So it just felt like the attention wasn't centered on that, and I felt like a lot of people. There was also like other things, like there was crowd jealousy between League of Legends and StarCraft 2. It just like became this whole different dynamic, and it was really cool because it was one event. It was unification. Like, everyone was forced to watch Tribes, everyone was forced to watch WCS, and everyone was forced to watch NASL. But as a result, the crowd got really behind it, and that's what also is just like a very welcoming thing. It's a very subtle thing, but just shows that Canadians are very welcoming to events.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that was the best part of the weekend for me, was seeing that, and it's what I want more from WCS, and what I think should have, like, what I'm really hoping like WCS grows into, and it's something that they continue. Like, it should be a situation where like you are rooting for your hometown or home country or whatever player, right? It should be like the person that wins the WCS for your country absolutely should get that kind of respect and acknowledgement and stuff like that. And it's kind of unfortunate for, like, it really worked out great for NASL because NASL felt like a Canadian event, right? Like, it was a big deal that it was in Canada. It was like the first thing in Canada in a while. And so the crowd was behind it, whereas MLGs, they're always in the U.S. It doesn't really feel like a U.S. event. Sometimes it feels like just an international StarCraft event that we have on this side of the ocean instead of, as opposed to in Korea. So there wasn't like this big national focus on like, oh, these are, go USA or anything like that. But I think that's what we need to have eventually. That's what we really need for StarCraft to, like, or just competitive gaming in general, to keep growing and growing and growing. Like, you have to have, it's so much easier to introduce someone to something and get them excited about it if you say that this guy's, like, he's your guy, right? Like, he's from your city or from your state or from your country and is competing internationally. Like, nobody, like, a lot of people look at the Olympics, right? There's tons of Olympic sports that people generally don't care about 90% of the time, but when it's your country against another country competing in it, like, suddenly you care about, like, Olympic table tennis or something like that. And you can do that with StarCraft. You can you can introduce people. It's so much easier to get someone excited about something if you're like, hey, there's this tournament going on, and oh, what is it? It's a StarCraft, and they're like, okay, whatever. But oh, hey, there's this tournament, and there's a guy from Virginia. He's competing against a Korean player. And they're like, oh, okay, you know, and they can immediately make a connection there. And I hope that eventually WCSs get to the point where like it really isn't a national pride thing, right? And it should be. And it was that way in Canada. And that was amazing, and the Canadian crowd was amazing. I really want to see it that way in the U.S. as well.
Me too. It is a new thing, but that national pride is something that we grow up with, really, and it's not something that we should be ashamed of. It's something that, hey, this is my heritage. I'm proud to be part of this country. And as we compete, of course, you always want to have good sportsmanship. But yeah, exactly. We can look at the Olympics. I mean, that's been going on for how many thousands of years? You know, a while. So. Very, very cool to see that. It was a beautiful moment. And Scarlett, when she won, grabbing the Canadian flag, and Zoe was up there to do an interview, and Scarlett went, nope! And just ran down the red carpet, high-fiving everybody. And then finally she came back up for the interview, and just seeing how happy she was and how happy the whole crowd was that she won was awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about Tribes, how that went, and then the NASL Season 3 Grand Finals, and then we're going to take your phone calls. So stay tuned. This is Shifting Gears. Welcome back to Shifting Gears. I am your host, Clutch, joined by Wigan and Frodan. So, gentlemen, Tribes was great. It was fun to watch. It was new for a lot of people. I had a little speech on the red carpet about my experience with Tribes, and that was fun. And the players enjoyed it. They had a good time. They got to touch the Blood Eagle trophy, which is really cool. And it went well. And the spectator client, you know, I think they got some things to work on. But all in all, seeing a shooter on the stage for NASL was really cool to see. Any more thoughts on that before we move on to the NASL Season 3 Finals? Because we got to start taking calls here pretty soon, so I got to kind of go fast.
I genuinely enjoy playing Tribes, and I really want to see it succeed as a game. Like, competitive gaming needs a good high-skill cap shooter. It really does. So I hope they get some spectator stuff worked out, and I hope it keeps showing up at events, man.
Me too.
And shout out to High Res Bart for being an awesome dude.
Yeah, him and Fish Sticks were able to cast, and the players that won had the walk down the red carpet, and the crowd loved it. They enjoyed it, and it was, for some of them, you know, taking a break from StarCraft 2 was nice for an hour and a half, and then get right into the WCS Finals, and then the NASL Season 3 Grand Finals, which is the gear we're going to shift into right now. The best of 7 format was interesting, and I use that word to describe, really, there's a sense of timing sometimes with these games of having a best of 7, since the storyline is more impactful of the wins and the losses because there's only 8 players. So 7 games might feel boring sometimes, or might take away like the edge until you get into game 4 and you're like, oh, this is it, this is match point, holy crap. But I wasn't bored watching him. It just was a lot to kind of take notes and absorb compared to best of 3. But it's not a bad thing. It's just a different kind of format, and I felt it definitely worked for this tournament. The speech that MC gave when he won against Rhett was tear-inducing because he said, you know, I'm happy I won, but I'm also sad because Rhett is like my best friend. And to me, that, with only 8 players, each loss and each win really amplify that emotion. And you can have a kind of a broader story with 7 games compared to 3 games, especially when it's single elimination too. I mean, 3 games single elimination is a little like, if I get cheese twice, I'm over, you know, if I can't catch it. So I felt the format went very well. And let's move on into Stefano, guys. This guy is like unstoppable right now. 4-0 against Alicia. 4-0.
Yeah. And if it kept going, I said if the best of 7 was played, like all 7 games, it would have been 7-0. I'm almost convinced. Just because, I mean, everything that Alicia stands for in his PvZ was like what Stefano loves to do, or loves to face against. Like, he's so reactive, and like no matter what Alicia did, it just seemed like Stefano had his number. In fact, I said right before Mr. Bitter nodded him, I said, like, MC Stefano will be the finals. Like, I told him that, like, that's the closest thing we can get to it. And that was kind of back and forth. But more going on what you said, like, it felt like the series ended up kind of be lackluster, especially because of the PvZ monotony as well. So, like, best of 7s are great, but it was PvZ, 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 PvZ. 6 times, I think, or 7 times we had PvZ throughout the entire weekend. So it just got kind of redundant after a certain point. And that's why, in the end, thank God we had personalities to root for, because it wasn't about a race at that point.
Yeah. Stefano winning was it was predictable going in just how strong his Zerg versus Protoss was compared to Alicia's Protoss versus Zerg. Alicia's Protoss versus Protoss, I think, is the strongest, at least watching in that tournament. But that ending ceremony was a lot of fun, man. I think it's the best ending ceremony that esports has had. Some people are like, what are these guys doing dancing? But we didn't care, dude. We were told dance and have fun, and Stefano wanted to dance. He told me, he goes, Clutch, when I win, you come dance with me. I said, sure, man. It's your celebration. If you win, you got it. So we went out there and started dancing, had the champagne going. Stefano got flipped. He got to hit on Lauren, literally. So... So that was fun, but Mark's suggestion to do that, and I think it went very well. Could have went very bad, but I think it went very well. And I think having that ceremony right after the win instead of going to commercial and waiting to get on stage just continues the momentum of that excitement. And I felt it was great. It was fun on our end, and the crowd loved it. And they were kind of timid at first. And Day 9 was like, "Come to the stage, dance!" And people started coming to the stage, started high fiving, and it was a celebration. That's how we went out. And it should be a celebration. I mean, look at everything that NASL accomplished, that the players accomplished, that the staff accomplished, and that Canada accomplished. We were celebrating not only Stefano's victory, but a victory for esports and a victory for Canada.
Yeah. So, same thing. Stefano said to me, he's like, when you come up, when I win, we like party out. I'm like, okay. So then Morgan, our producer, got 6 bottles of really cheap champagne, but it's just for show, right? And so I was like so worried about making sure that I was spraying right. I didn't want to like mess it up. So like as soon as the GG was called and like everyone was yelling and everyone was starting to go up and shout and like throw their thunder sticks together, I got up and started spraying, and then Morgan's like, "Get back here!" He was like cursing me. I was like, "Get back here! Who are you going to spray?" And I'm like, "Good point." So I get my hand on the champagne and I ran backwards. And I was like feeling like an idiot. Then Stefano came out, and I came out and I sprayed him as much as I could. I was jumping up and down. And then Rotterdam and Morgan was also spraying the stage, and I like was jumping so high that as soon as I landed, I just lost my footing and I slipped and totally destroyed my leg, man. But the final ceremony was great. It was so fun. The only thing is that I didn't know, but apparently the credits weren't rolling, and they were supposed to be like, it was supposed to be like a see you later.
Yeah. And it just kept going.
Like 5 minutes later, we're like, all right, like, you guys can go, like that's it, like we should be done. And they're like all staring like, yeah, what's next?
What's next?
we're like, yeah, like, see you next season. And they're like, they couldn't hear us because obviously everyone's so. It was just like this really awkward moment, and then we're like, wow. So they really just don't know that it's over.
It was, yeah. I think the commercials could have started a little bit sooner, but again, you know, things to improve. Myself going back and watching the VODs, I think the biggest thing was the sound. If the people could hear the crowd, and if the sound was better, the levels were better, it was pretty good. But that crowd factor, if people could just get a taste of it, you know, on the stream, it would have been even better and more attractive for them to want to physically go to an event. But I'm telling you guys, going to an event physically, it is totally worth it. It is completely worth it. And anybody that went to this NASL event will tell you that it was completely worth it. It is a different experience being there than watching online. And in the words of Russ, the CEO of NASL, the Season 3 finals knocked it out of the park. It did. So, Froden, as you being one of the key people to make that happen, is there anything you would like to add or go over in terms of NASL before we start taking calls?
Yeah, Season 4 is going to be really cool. Like, we dream big. Like, if you think Season 3, the way the finals were executed, or the way that even it happened was great, we have all these other cool things that we're really making happen. In Control kind of leaked it that we're getting more. We're like, we realize that we can make a fire with
In
some
Control
sticks,
and his leaks,
stones. We realize we can make a fire with some sticks and stones and a little bit of kindling, but we're bringing in like logs and trees now. We really want to grow this fire into a huge flame. So I think it's going to be really cool. Just pay attention, and that's as much as I can say without giving away too much information that would get me fired. I still want to be around next season.
Yeah, I think Season 4 is going to be even more successful, especially with the finals that just happened. Wiggin, yourself, being a fan of esports, a connoisseur of StarCraft 2, and being one that watched from home this weekend, any thoughts overall before we start taking calls?
You guys just keep improving, man. That's all anyone can ask. It's been great to see all the way from Season 1 before the finals, and Greetorp gave me an NASL sweatshirt, and just watching the whole league grow, it's been really impressive. So I can't wait to see what happens in Season 4, man.
That's right. Shout out to Greetorp, did a great job as well over the weekend, and even had been an injured arm, he was great. No, everybody was great.
He's still laddered, man. He's still, like, when we got to the venue, he just disappeared for an hour and a half. I'm like, where'd you go on? He's like, I was laddered.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, the phones are open, and the first one is going to be Lauren because she's been waiting.
Okay.
This will be fun. Lauren, my co-host for the weekend. And the production's going to look a little bit weird. Hello, Lauren.
Hello.
You're on the show. Welcome to Shifting Gears.
Awesome.
So, overall, how was your experience at NASL?
It was pretty amazing. Since it was my first experience at a finals event like that, I was really blown away.
And go ahead.
No. Go for it.
In terms of the crowd and meeting a lot of different people there, had you ever been to Canada before?
No, never.
And so how would you rate Canadians in general?
How do you like the country of Canada?
Are they human or are they dancers?
Were they who we thought they were?
I think they're probably mostly singers, since they all sang "Oh Canada" during a break time. I think that probably if I had to rate them on a scale of entertainment levels, I'd say they're singers. But they were very nice. I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, so they're definitely really nice people.
Yeah, they were. They were very nice.
Well, Lauren, I have a question. So it's no secret that you've been involved in other areas of entertainment, and so you've been around of all different kinds of people, all different kinds of fans as well. How would you kind of what is your opinion? How do you feel about esports fans in comparison to other events? Because you've done like lots of other entertainment industries, but this is like a whole new field of exploration. So how did you enjoy, especially being around like a video game crowd that they were there just to watch a tournament?
I really think that the video game crowd is much smarter than any of my other.
Nice! Victory. Yes!
They're just, their level of intelligence it exceeds a plethora of other people that follow me, and I really appreciate that whenever they give me feedback, it's specific feedback. Whenever I get feedback from like some of my previous fans, they're just like, wow, you're really pretty. I'm like, cool, thanks.
They go, you're hot, and that's it.
Yeah, it like ends right there.
They're not even saying anything. They're just staring at that point, right?
No, so I think the fact that these guys that play a game of strategy really are kind of just a whole nother level, and it's been very interesting just to read some of the stuff. Like, I mean, they're more human than 90% of the people I've ever met.
The thing about it too is it can go two ways anytime anyone enters the esports scene, and I felt that people really enjoyed your presence. And also, Lauren, I gotta say, when we did the lore questions and you knew the answer to the middle name of Jim Raynor when we asked that question, and the crowd goes, what is it, man? I don't know what it is. And the power that you had in that whole room was so awesome. And
that was really cool. I definitely felt like that was a Cloud9 moment.
It was. And it looked so good on camera going back and watching the VOD, because when you asked the question to the guy, he gave that face of, I have no idea. It's so good. So good.
That was really fun. I enjoyed asking those questions too.
So, are we going to see more of you at NASL?
Oh yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm way too addicted.
Good. I think you're going to get like 10,000 more followers just because of that.
Yeah,
Dan, you're stuck with me.
I have to teach Lauren how to stream and everything. She has her own stream, by the way, and she's getting... It's actually ridiculous. She just started it on Twitch, didn't really tell anyone about it, and then all of a sudden like 150 people flock out of nowhere in just a couple hours. So, Lauren, the future is very bright for her.
Yes, but Dan, that was because you were on my stream, and everybody knew that you were teaching me how to do it. So I think it was probably 150 of your followers just seeing what you do with a blonde.
I can do many things with a blonde.
Ho! All right, let's keep it PG-13, adults. Okay. Oh, it was, Lauren and I were thinking of some more things we could do in terms of handing out the Kingston HyperX memory stuff. By the way, big thanks to Kingston HyperX. They had a lot of stuff to give away. And we thought maybe on finals day that we could do a dance contest. And we weren't able to do it because we ran out of time. But it would have been funny because it would have been me against anyone in the crowd, and Lauren was going to be the judge, and she was going to choose the winner, and the winner would have been the person that challenged me either way. And after I congratulated them, I'd be like, it's okay, the consolation prize is I get to go hang out with Lauren backstage, so I'll see you guys later.
No, but you know what, Clutch? Like, I was telling Day 9 about that, and I was telling him that I was going to have this dance-off, and he's like, well, are you going to, like, go with the crowd and, like, be a fan and pick a fan? And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, that's dumb, because Clutch can dance better than anyone. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, what am I going to do? Like, some fan goes up there and they dance, and then I, like, pick Clutch? That's kind of rude.
Yeah,
like,
it's not fun for anybody.
Yeah, and Day9's like, well, dude, like, you gotta be honest in this industry, and you just gotta pick the better dancer. If the other guy doesn't do anything, doesn't have any moves, you can't pick him, because then you look like a liar. And I'm like, God, the intelligence in this world.
No. Day 9 likes to make you think, and sometimes he's got to keep it simple. We would have when we were doing the questions, somebody could have just said, like, Popeye the Sailor for the home planet of the Zerg, and we would have given it to him anyways. Like, he meant show. I mean, that's, like, we were just wanted to have fun with the crowd and everybody to have a good experience, but also just to keep it, StarCraft 2 themed. It was a lot of fun.
It was so fun.
All right, Lauren, we got a lot of callers coming in. Is there anything else you'd like to add? People can follow you on Twitter. What's your Twitter? Where do you stream?
Yeah, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at I am Lauren Elise. My stream hasn't started yet. Dan and I will get to you. Yeah, thanks for hearing me out and all the support and all the love. I'm blown away.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Lauren, and we all look forward to watching your career in esports continue to take off.
Cool. See you guys later. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, lot of calls coming in. We're going to take Barbara Smith here. At least try to...
I'm going to be for the first call, and then I got to head out too, man.
Okay. Bum, 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 bum.
But yeah, I want to also make a note that, like, Lauren is, she tries really hard to be, like, genuine. I think it's really cool because she's never, like, going to fake an answer for PC reasons. Like, what she says is always what she means, which is, like, really weird because it feels like whenever you talk to, like, any girl in esports, they always say, like, the correct answer, the play answer, you know? Like, oh, yeah, he's so nice. But, like, Lauren just says whatever's on her mind. So, like, if you ever get a chance to just talk to her at an event, and don't be afraid because she's just so willing to talk to anyone that approaches her.
She is nice. She is nice. Okay, Barbara Smith, you're on. Welcome to Shifting Gears.
Hello, Clutch. Hello, friends.
Hello. What is your question?
I just wanted to say we saw a lot of flags this weekend, and I thought it was just amazing. Like Huck and Scarlet were using possibly the same Canada flag. Someone told me that was Kenneget's fault, by the way. And like Stefano had a French flag.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the like Continental and World WCS events are going to have a lot of this, like with Olympic-style victory laps? So it looks really fantastic.
As we were talking about the WCS before, I really hope it does. I really hope it does. And as I said in an interview, I believe, talking about the WCS and how that fosters that national growth, it really brings out a lot of fans that normally maybe wouldn't go to an event, but when they realize, like if you look at Poland, about 15,000 people I think showed up to the Polish WCS. That's huge. That's huge. And having that amount of people show up to be behind their one player, they're going to focus on that one player that won or the top two players all the way to the WCS. And so now you have 15,000 people plus the people as far as who they invite as far as friends watching that event from that country alone. And then if you multiply that by every country that is involved, that is so many people rallying behind StarCraft 2 in general. And then you have the national pride to go along with it. So I think it's a great thing, and I really look forward to how WCS develops. And it being its first year, its initial year, I think it's been a huge success so far.
Yeah, I think national pride is something that people can really get behind because I think it just gives people opportunities. Like, for example, Lowly did well in NASL Season 3, and a lot of people are like, well, who's Lowly? He's this guy from Belarus, he's a Zerg player that no one really knows about. But he won his regional WCS over a lot of other people, and he gets that opportunity. So WCS is really cool in terms of giving those players opportunities, but also binding people together to get events they don't normally get in. Like, WCS will be the largest tournament in the Oceania region. Like, I think it's $25,000, right, is the prize pool. Like, that's their hugest thing that they can celebrate together. And so having that national pride, like wearing the flags, really playing to the fact that they're proud of their country, they're proud to be from wherever their origin is, I think that's something special.
Very special indeed. All right, Barbara, thanks for calling in.
All right.
Appreciate your support of Shifting Gears.
All right, wonderful.
All right, take care. All right, Froden, you got to dip out?
Yeah, man. Got to dip out.
Okay, man. Have fun. Thanks for being on the show. Might try to add a BZ in here, at least take his call. I know you maybe wanted to jump in. But we got a lot more people calling into the show, so we're going to take your guys' call. But Froden, I once again want to say it was such a blast, honor, and privilege to cast with you and also just to be around you and hang out with you and work with you at the NASL Season 3 Finals. And I look forward to working with you soon in maybe some sort of future endeavor.
All right. Thank you very much, Clutch. It was a pleasure.
All right, take care. I really need to, like, up my production value of this show. I think DJ Week can teach me a way to have a different Skype open, and then when I add calls, it won't mess up the video. We'll get there one day, Wigan. We'll get there one day. We're working on it. We'll take another call here. Garrison coming in. As I fix this, guys. And as you can see, Emma Stone's eyes right now. Garrison, you are on Shifting Gears. Welcome.
Hello, you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was there at... Huh? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was at the NASL finals, and I'd say that it was pretty awesome being there and getting your autographs and everything.
Thank you, sir.
I actually got to spend some time with Scarlett on Saturday, and she was pretty cool. Like, she's really shy, though. She's really, really camera shy. But it was an awesome event.
Did you have a question for us? Did you have a question?
Not particularly, but
Okay.
what did you think of the finals overall? Like, Stefano's just so insanely good.
Yeah,
It's
I'm glad.
ridiculous.
It kind of sucks that it was a 4-0, but I'm glad it was Stefano 4-0ing because I think probably most of the people there wanted him to win. Would have been pretty unfortunate if it was just like another Korean domination. It was like 4-0, then people would have probably had a bit of a bad feeling about it. But Stefano's just so good, man. I don't know how you stop Stefano right now. He could. I think he was saying he was going to go to GSTL soon. He's probably going to dominate just as hard there, man. Guy's so good.
So do you think there will be more events in Canada as a result of the success of NASL?
I
hope so.
I hope there is. Logistically, I don't know. That's up to the leagues, but Canada showed that they are ready and willing to be a part of any sort of esports event, especially for StarCraft 2, man. You guys showed up, and I loved it. So I'd love to come back to Canada personally.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, Garrison, for calling in, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
I'd like to invite Adebisi joining us here, the man behind all of the wonderful GameSpot coverage that happened. Thank goodness for buses not allowing people to get into countries, right?
Yeah, it worked out well for me, didn't it?
It did. You did a great job, man. You did a great job, and I'm glad. I told the GameSpot guys that were there that Adebisi's a hard worker, man. He's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It's kind of weird doing it to be in such a different role, but it went over well. And those GameSpot guys, Benito and Eric, they're so easy to work with. It's so awesome, just like to do an interview, and then I go back, and then Benito's just sitting there interlacing the gameplay on top of it, and then just pumping it up, getting it on GameSpot like that. Like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
it's good.
Get it up there that fast. As a Canadian, how did you feel about the event?
I was pretty stoked about the whole thing. I wanted to observe the thing initially, so I was kind of sad about them not being too interested about that. But doing the GameSpot coverage was awesome, and then just the WCS on top of it. Because honestly, the USA WCS it felt to me it was far too overshadowed by MLG, and it's just already a challenge. But with the way NASL already identified with Canada so much, it made it work really well, and I think, on top of Scarlett just playing so well, like, honestly, those ZVZ games of hers, like, I could never always, like, pay, like, super strict attention to the games, because I'm always busy doing other stuff, too, but, like, she was always just, like, playing really, really well, and I like good games, and it's refreshing to see good games.
It is very refreshing to see.
I'm kind of a snob sometimes, and some games are.
It's refreshing to see talented players, man. These tournaments are just.
Some games are just and I mean, especially with the WCS, because it gets kind of some flack. Like I think people, and that's too what I kind of felt maybe a little at, with the MLG WCS, like because the player pool at the main MLG tournament is just like it's world class, right? It's so good. And there's so many games going on, whereas the way NASL had it, like, it's not like, oh, I'm missing the NASL whatever because they're showing a WCS game. It's like, no, there's just a WCS game, so you don't have that kind of like, maybe I'd rather see MC playing right now, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great, and the national pride behind it, and
So were you singing? Were you singing "O Canada"?
No, I was like backstage and I'm like, what's going on? I think I was like trying to make sure I got an interview with Scarlett, so I'm like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, like, the crowd is singing at one point, and I was like, oh, that's kind of random. But it went over well. And it's like, Oh Canada is kind of the national anthem. It's like, it's not the kind of like melody that works well for like a crowd to kind of break into singing it, but it apparently worked well.
It worked very well, man.
It did.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really cool. So seeing that and seeing the pride of Canada, and like we've said in the show many times, the fire in their eyes and the passion in their hearts was amazing, and the crowd will be unforgettable. The whole event will be unforgettable for a lot of reasons, but just the crowd alone will be unforgettable. All right, we're going to take some more calls here. I got John Quinn trying to call in, one of the volunteers, guy that made our lives way easier and did a great job, so I'm going to get him into the conference call. Add to conference call here. John Quinn, you're on Shifting Gears. Hello.
What's up, guys?
First off, sir, thank you so much for this weekend. You and the rest of the volunteers did an incredible job.
Thank you for having me, man. It was a blast. It was a ton of work, but at the end of the day, it was really fulfilling to be a part of it all.
Yeah. And you were well-dressed all weekend, too, man. You were in different suits and stuff. I was like, this guy's a baller.
See, Frodan gave me crap about that on Sunday after the show. He was like, man, get out of that suit. Like, just get out of it. I only brought so many clothes. You know?
Nice. Well, I'm going to give you a little bit more time here on the show since you did a great job, and to honor the volunteers everywhere that helped out. What was your favorite moment of the whole weekend?
Definitely the O Canada. I knew that was coming when I was talking to Russ and Mark on Friday, like when we were done setting up. I was like, they're going to sing the national anthem, right? And they just kind of looked at each other and were like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, just wait, it'll happen. And then the two guys kind of stood up in the crowd, and I looked over at Russ and I pointed and just said, there it is. So it was just really cool to see that happen.
It was. And you came up to me later because you're like, did you mean to say the President of Canada? I was like, yes, I did. The President of Canada. But in Canada, they call that the Prime Minister of Canada. I introduced MC. But I was like, looking back, I should have just said the Prime Minister of Canada. I have to, give a speech to people.
You joked and said you were going to do the Governor General instead.
Yeah, the Governor General next time. The Queen's representative. All sorts of titles for MC, who is one of my favorite players. He's so cool. What were the conversations like after the event, John? What did you guys talk about?
Just how much fun we had, really. I mean, as tired as we were basically just kind of planning and saying, how can we keep this going? How can we plan for our next event, whether it's NASL or MLG or a bigger company coming in and us kind of working with them, or Esports Canada holding our own event. So we're kind of in the background now, planning on when can we get our own land, when can we get something going on our own.
Well, since I have you on the show, I'll allow you to plug yourself because I know you're really active in the Canada esports scene. So first off, what's your Twitter? Any sort of upcoming events that people should know about?
We're definitely planning bar crafts all over Canada through Esports Canada. If you want to check out facebook.com/esportscanada. There's bar crafts I'm based in St. John, New Brunswick. I'm holding one for MLG Summer. I believe it's August 26th.
Sweet. I'll try to give you guys a shout out because I'm hosting that.
Oh, perfect.
Just let me know on Twitter.
Yeah, there's one in St. John, one in Halifax. There'll be a couple around the Toronto area. I think like Waterloo, Ottawa, Toronto, and over in BC, there's one in Victoria and one in Vancouver. So if you're in any of those areas, check out Esports Canada on Facebook and attend because they're a ton of fun. We have huge sponsors somehow, and there's a ton of gear we give away every time. So it's definitely something to check out.
Cool. Well, John, thanks for calling in, man. Once again, thank you so much, and tell all your friends that helped out and Canadians everywhere that we love them, and thank you for supporting esports.
No problem. Thank you, Clutch.
All right. See ya.
Peace.
John's just one of those guys that, like, you want to give him the world, man. Him and the rest of the volunteers just work so hard to make that happen. So I look forward to more events happening in Canada because they deserve it. We got some more callers trying to get in here. Johnny Park, a.k.a. Salvatore, you are on Shifting Gears. Hello.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Great, man. Great. I got to hang out with you backstage for a little bit, and you made the comment of, you guys are like humans, man. This is so cool to hang out with you guys. And I said, yes, we're heroes and real human beings, if you will.
Yes, of course. No, it was really cool to hang out with you guys. Like, it's good to see you guys backstage and, kind of just see that, yeah, they're just normal people and, same interests, As for the actual events, Clutch, you're awesome, man. Casting was great. Keep it up, because you definitely are good at it. And screw the haters, man. Screw the haters. And it was always fun having you as the announcer, man. Like, it wouldn't be the same without you. So thank you for coming out. Really awesome. For pros for the events, like the crowd was awesome, like you said. Like, it was really, really fun. Everyone obviously had a good time. The temperature, I thought, was actually pretty good in there, considering how hot it was outside.
Yeah, it was summer.
Yeah, summer in Canada. Were you expecting igloos when you came here? Because that's what Lauren said. Lauren was like, they told us it was going to be freezing. I'm like, no, it's not. It's like one of the hottest summers we've ever had.
No, Adebisi, he's told me about Canada before, so I think it was okay.
I probably controlled you, though.
Yeah.
The production quality was really good. I thought everything was great. Like, they couldn't have done anything better in that sense. Like, the intros are great, and then, like, when the winner came up on the screen, that was really cool. The only thing I can say for next time is the venue needs to be bigger, like, and it needs to be in Toronto, because I remember I pulled you aside, I was like, I hope you don't think that this is Toronto, because it's not. Toronto's like...
No, I got to check it out. Did you have any questions for us, man?
Not really. I just wanted to say thanks for coming out. You guys are awesome, and you have the link to the photos I took, so if you want to share them, go for it.
Well, yes. Actually, what is your Twitter? Because you're starting to put a lot of links up there on it.
It's just at JohnnyPark5. So pretty much the exact same thing that I'm rocking on Twitch TV, Reddit, all that kind of stuff.
JohnnyPark5. Okay, man. Yeah. Well, it was great to meet you. Keep spreading the gospel of esports to all the electronic boutique stores in Canada.
For sure.
You manage one, and hit me up on Twitter if you guys want to shout out for your Barcraft or something. And I'm hosting an event. I'll definitely try to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, take care.
See you later.
Got a lot of people still want to call in. I know Luca wanted to. I'll try to get him in here. You guys know him from Playhim.
I think Dak wanted to as well.
Dak as well. I mean, we might have to cap it off here in a little bit. I know Adebisi's got to get his beauty rest. Hey, when are you leaving for Asus?
Well, I'm leaving. It's DreamHack WCS first.
Okay, cool.
And that's next week.
Nice.
I can't remember when the ticket is, man. I don't plan that far in advance. But soon. I think Wednesday or Thursday.
Cool. I'm excited for you, man. Dang it, Luca.
Just dropping the ball.
Yeah. I gotta get another thing of Skype, and I'm gonna talk to DJ Wheat this weekend, because he's got one of the best production value on his show. So that like the camera stuff doesn't move around. But it's okay. This is esports, man. The vehicle of esports. If I can't get Luca, I got some other people.
The vehicle of esports, waiting for Skype.
Yeah. Hey, we got Charles. He wants to hop on here. I'll add him. Add to conference call. Call Skype.
All right.
I can't pronounce his last name. Desalianares. Charles, you're on Shifting Gears. Hello. If you can hear me.
Hello?
Hello, Charles.
Charles, is your mic muted?
Was my mic muted?
Oh,
yep.
It was.
Right.
Charles not
there
telling
we
us.
Go.
Hey, man.
So
go. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, first, my last name is Desaulniers.
Desaulniers. All right, thank you.
So, how did everyone like that? Like, that was insane for me, right? Such a huge show. I got to meet, like, Adebisi right there, Clutch there. Like, people everywhere. Like, this is like a dream come true for Canada, you know. And, yeah. What can I say? How did you guys like? How can I say this? Sorry about the French to the English translation there.
It's okay. It's better than my English to Korean. Still working on that.
Like, well, it's a question I actually asked around a lot during the show. You've been to MLG, obviously, Clutch. The BZ most likely too. Like, if we compare crowds to the United States, which one did you like better?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
I will
It's a loaded
say
one. You can't pick.
that because of the format of having multiple games and, for example, 3 stages at MLG Anaheim, mentally I'll try to block out the other 2 sections. So if I'm just thinking about the StarCraft 2 crowd and then the StarCraft 2 crowd at Canada, I will say the Canadian crowd was more consistently hyped than the Anaheim crowd, and I think it was because of the hunger that they had for an esports event and how they truly appreciated it. And as I said before in the show, the excitement for Huck's entrance rivals the excitement for the Kespa, the Kespa intro. I think the Kespa intro is obviously louder because of more people, but in terms of like per person, the crazy amount of energy coming out of each person was pretty much the same.
That's insane. That's great, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, thanks for the shout out to for French casting there earlier today. I mean, this has been a sick experience for all of us over at CyberActive. I mean, I don't want to plug too much there, but if anybody in the viewers right now actually watched the French stream during that time, we are so grateful. This is the breakthrough for actually French casting internationally, and I'm thinking it's just the start, right?
Yeah, I heard from the French casters that France itself and Europe loved it.
Oh yeah, I mean they were so grateful for it.
And I've worked with the French community before when I interned for MLG and headed up the community caster program and translated lots of videos, at least over 30 the first time I did this, maybe around 80 videos total of French as far as the description. They put it up on the website for MLG back in the startup of the community caster program. So I know France has been really involved in trying to get more French language casting for events.
I mean, I guess that from now on, if an event comes like through Canada, I mean, we're gonna try and get Elemental and Cadium, so some showmanship, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously there's some stuff I can't really say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, meeting Sean and actually any player there and at ABZ was like, you two was actually surreal. Like meeting people like that's actually known out here. It's great. I mean, MC walked by me. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, you guys, please support like Canadian events. Like I'm talking to the crowd, obviously. We want to get you back here, and things are gonna go like bigger and bolder just over the next year.
Yeah, well, we've seen some incredible growth in esports in general in the last 2 years, and this was a huge moment for Canada, but I think in esports in general as well. Seeing a league hitting its stride in its 3rd season, and how it was so successful being in another country was a very big deal on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I guess there's. They want to come back in Canada, and that's big for us, I guess. Obviously, there's nothing official like at all, but yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Charles. We got to get to some other callers, but it was great meeting you. I appreciate everything you do for esports, and I am sure Canada appreciates everything you do for esports in Canada.
Yeah, and come to Barcraft Montreal.
All right. All right.
Have a nice day, people.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Adebisi, your country's awesome, man.
Yeah, dude, I mean, if any event, like, this was just Ontario, like, go to Quebec, host an event in Vancouver, like, either one of those two would be absolutely mind-blowingly big, like, there's a lot of esports fans here.
There's a lot. What do you think about Vancouver? Do you think Vancouver would be a big...
I think West Coast, yeah, I think they're due. I think they need one. But I think, like, Red Bull's doing something in Seattle, and that's pretty close, I think.
Okay.
But someone has to go to Vancouver sometime soon.
We'll see. We'll see who that's going to be. Luca, you're on Shifting Gears. Hopefully there's no power outages. Hello.
Oh, that was just me kicking my stupid socket. Nice. Yes, indeed. I got quite a good shock from that. big shout out to Charles, by the way. Expect more from that guy. He's awesome. Just wanted to say a few things about the event. I got to meet both you and Adebisi. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Did very well. Adebisi is the new interviewer 2012, I would say.
He's good. He's good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's not easy, is it? Adebisi.
Yeah. Sometimes it's harder. Sometimes it's easier.
Yeah.
But
you get into a groove of it though.
It's good. Yeah.
So, touching on the Canadian national anthem, that was cool. You know, could you imagine if like every single place in the world did something like that? Like, that's the way you grow esports. That's the way you make something sustainable. When you show that like everyone is that passionate about it, that they're willing to support it that much. I think that was a really, really cool insight into what like esports in general could be. This could be something like soccer or the Olympics, or like this literally dictates what your country will be like for the next few months. Like, if you imagine, if you remember the Vancouver Olympic Games that was just recently, like that was a huge boost to Canada, and I can imagine like that being like a definite like paradigm within society soon. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Adebisi, your thoughts?
It's good, you know. Like, it's better than if they were all booing, you know. Like, it's good.
Yeah. Like I said earlier in the show, Luca, like you brought up the national anthem. That to me, if you can take that 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and poster that to the world and said this is esports, that would be an effective marketing campaign. Just for that moment, it was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that event, I don't know, I didn't get a very good stream look at things since I was always at the event. I was there for pretty much nearly the entire time. But the production there, like even on site, there was only one major hiccup, which was the speakers going out for temporarily, like, I don't know, a few minutes, and then they came back in. But I think events should all be presentable like that. Like, I don't know, MLG lacks a little bit. I've never been to an MLG, but I find that the majority of the time between, like, for intermissions isn't taken up properly. So NASL provided a very good look into what could be. Like, all the little intro videos and all the little, what was it called? The best finals ever, like XOXO. Like, that was really good. Those little things are really creative ways to fill time. I think that's definitely a way to progress into.
And even when there was some sort of production hiccup, which hardly happened throughout the weekend, but when it did, for example, the amp blew, and so there was no sound in the venue for a while, as Kitar friend in chat just mentioned. So the audience just stuck with it and would start clapping like crazy when Rhett made a hatchery, and stayed completely enthused into the game. And that to me is,
that's how it should be.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Honestly, sometimes I question even if the commentary needs to go out to the crowd. Like fighting games events, the commentary doesn't go out. It's just like the crowd is actually watching, and you know, it's very self-explanatory. StarCraft 2 definitely a little bit harder, but I do feel that like commentary to the crowd is not. You definitely do want like game sounds or whatever, but it's very different and interesting. I don't know.
I
think
it felt naked without having the caster voices, in my opinion. I just feel it adds something.
It's there to fill the little spots. Where,
I mean, it's the
like,
pacing of the game.
Yeah.
It works in fighting games because it's just like
Fighting
here's the
games
next
is like,
game
boom,
and there
straight
it
action
goes,
fighting.
right?
Yeah.
But
Like, fighting
StarCraft
games
2, you get like a 10-minute build up. So.
And you have some analysis that fills it up of, you know, what's exactly going on, what could happen, and that kind of builds it up too. Even in the CSL match of like, I mean, you could either see me looking around the map to find out what's going on in the Zerg base, or I'm saying, well, it's a 6:30 mark. He's canceled that hatchery, going to that hatchery, showing that, and kind of telling that story. And then, oh, there's what we're looking for. It's the Baneling nest. So, but it's a good point, Adebisi. But that's the job of the commentator, though, to help tell that story. And if you have a good commentator, which NASL had a plethora of them, they help that. So, just my opinion, though. And Luke, anything else? We got to take one more call, and then we're going to take a bunch of questions from chat because we got so many people watching. I don't want to let them down.
I'll let you guys go then. It was nice meeting you, Clutch. You're awesome.
Thanks, man.
I'm very sad that I didn't get to see more of you, but we were both kind of busy.
Yeah.
And Adebisi, you're a fine, fine man. I didn't really get to formally introduce myself to you, but I did run into you, so.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was going to say, I don't remember meeting you. I don't know
Well,
if
you
was
remember-
just that drunk then or something, but
No,
that's good.
I
I'm relieved.
I was in the press room with Genevieve and Brandy, and you had just done an interview
Oh,
with MC.
okay.
I was the fellow in the black shirt and the glasses
I see.
watching you do that interview. All right,
All
take
right,
care,
thanks,
guys.
Luca.
Bye.
Boom, boom, boom. All right, we're going to take one more call, and I'm having you guys ask questions in chat right now as Wiggins going to sift through them and pick some out before we go off the air here. So I'm going to add Allie. Whoa! Got a lot of background noise there, Allie. Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it a vacuum?
That might be my fan. Is it?
It's okay right now. What's your?
It's okay now, I think.
Yeah. What's your question?
Oh, I just first just wanted to say thanks so much for coming out to Canada. That was just great. Yeah.
Thanks. It was a blast. I'll never forget it.
Neither will I. Neither will all of Canada. I just wanted to ask you guys, do you think that maybe because of this huge Canadian event, you'll see more Canadian pro players make it into the larger tournaments and maybe even over to Korea? Do you think we have anyone with that potential?
Wigan, your thoughts on that?
Can you? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah.
quite hear that.
She asked, because of this event, do you feel that there's going to be more Canadian players in the professional scene, maybe even going to Korea?
I think that maybe not with this event specifically, but I think the WCS has the potential to make something like that happen. With this event, a lot of the people that did very well are already sort of known in the scene. Like the big story was, of course, Scarlett, and she's very good. But I don't know if the WCS did a ton to push her towards maybe moving into Korea or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that future events with WCS, especially like next year if it's bigger, and then you could definitely see something like that, because WCS is honestly one of the best things that we have going right now for growing the StarCraft scene outside of Korea, because it really does put that emphasis on the local talent.
Yeah.
And that's what it really is going to take to get like more Canadian players, more American players, things like that, to compete at the level of the Koreans.
Adebisi?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the WCS is kind of the more prominent thing that will do it. But just hosting the events, though, it's certainly... I mean, if you look at, like, the CSL teams, it's like, these are guys going to university, doing whatever, but playing StarCraft on the side. And it's like, well, do you want to take time off and really dedicate to StarCraft and then try and, become a professional? It's like, well... It's hard to justify, but when, in your backyard there's an event going to, and it's like, maybe you even tell your parents to go to it, and then they're like, oh, holy shit, there's like, this isn't just some small online tournament, whatever, this is like a crowd of an insane amount of people. It certainly can make it easier to kind of be like, oh, I'm going to try being a pro gamer or whatever, so it certainly does help the scene having events hosted here, but I think, honestly, the WCS is really one of the biggest things. But I mean, like for Ostagy, like he's the perfect example. He's going to school right now. He's not a full-time pro gamer by any means, but by going to WCS in Canada, people he knows are there in Canada. It does nothing but help.
I agree that having tournaments that, I don't want to say not feature Koreans, but just this is Canada, this is the United States, this is Poland. So now I know more Polish players, I know more Canadian players, and I know more US players, and Blizzard knows them as well. And everybody's going to know who they are in China. It's just going to help the scene altogether. But I think everybody will know Canada loves esports because of this event, and they love StarCraft too. And nobody's going to forget that from this event. So that's really important to have as well, Ali. Anything else?
Well, I just gotta say, I agree with that, definitely. I mean, I hope that we see another esports event very soon. Somebody mentioned MLG Montreal, and although that's so far off because they've already got some planned, that would be absolutely insane. I think Montreal would be the perfect location for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your call, Ali.
All right. No problem. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we're going to go in ultra fast talking mode to answer all these questions here. Appreciate all the calls, guys. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but I know a couple people have been waiting to try to get in. And first question. Last year, within the StarCraft 2 esports scene, one could call it the year of Terran. Yet, since the latest patch, Zerg has made a huge impact within the scene throughout the last few weeks. Do you feel StarCraft 2 has hit a race balance stability point, or will every adjustment here on out change the metagame with huge results? From Octane.
That's a big play.
Let's talk about that after Legacy of the Void is released, man. There's, as we said before, there's some things that still need to be ironed out, but just as with the history of StarCraft 1 and into Brood War, there have been some changes. I think Terran does need a little bit of help.
I think I can just very, very quickly answer that it definitely hasn't hit a stability point. The metagame and the way StarCraft 2 works is it's constantly shifting. If you can go back to Brood War, there was just tons of like the game was basically like cyclical, right? Like there would be months where one race would be dominating, and then like another race, like Protoss in the fall, for example, things like that. You know, and it rotated, and that's just kind of the way the metagame in RTS works. On top of the fact that Blizzard is still actively balancing this game, there's definitely going to be changes. There's no way there's absolutely no way that in a year people play the game the same way as they do right now. It's just no way.
Yeah, well, look what's happened in 2 years. I mean, 5-Rax Reapers compared to what Terran is now, which is make bio and lose. So. Sorry.
Yeah. I think to add to that, it's important that leagues and tournaments have, because you can't control the metagame and the balance, but what you can control is the map pool. So like a map like Antigua Shipyard, like I don't like that map, but Terran kind of does better on that map, so maybe that map stays around a little bit longer than some other maps, or maybe we see some more maps come in that are a little bit, because honestly the fall of Terran has kind of coincided with the rise of big macro maps, and so just using map design, and that's why having, leagues have staff who really understand the game like very, very closely. I mean, that's why OGN in Korea, their whole scene is so well, because you keep track of that thing, because honestly, I mean, it's like the GESL top 4 Zerg, that hurts the tournament, and you don't want to like rig the tournament or anything like that, obviously, but just kind of looking at the map pool and saying like, this is kind of, you can drive things a little bit there.
Mm-hmm. And people have to understand that it's okay to not have the game be 50-50-50 win rates like all across the board. There has to be some room for some change and things like that. And the map pool is a great way to do it. Like again, going back to Brood War, there was plenty of times where there would be a lot of favored maps for one race in a map pool. It just makes tournaments interesting. It makes them exciting.
Yeah, it does. And I would not be surprised when Blizzard comes out with some patch changes or a little video, even going into Heart of the Swarm, saying, well, we've looked at some of the stats here. David Kim has compressed the numbers, and Dustin Browder's talking, and looks like we're going to have to make some changes to Terran. I think the community would, some people would be in uproar, and there's a lot of Terran players would be like, finally, yes, they understood that something is wrong. But I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I just try to play the game to the best of my ability. I'm sure the pros are doing the same thing as well, but numbers are starting to show that Terran needs a little bit of help. Moving on to the next question from Ogbreach. Clutch, where do you get your inspiration for your player intros? Growing up watching different sporting events and feeling that these players deserve something that is incredible for them to walk on a stage to, the crowd loves, and they recognize that these are truly talented athletes, and they're about to engage in some serious competition mentally and even physically, and having that precision and that understanding of the game takes a career amount of investment, and they deserve all the recognition that's available to them in that moment. So my inspiration is to have the best intro for them, and that it's fun for everybody, and hopefully in the future the crowds are mic'd properly, so it's fun for everybody watching as well. Not just me going for a while. Next question. Hey Clutch, were you in on the champagne celebration? I want to know how you guys talked about it before it happened. If you were smiley face. Mark, the producer, that was his idea. He's like, all right, guys, this is what's going to happen. Everybody's going to have a microphone. They're going to be hot. You're going to grab champagne. You're going to shower the winner. And the winner turned out to be Stefano. Stefano actually came to me before even Mark came to me and said, Clutch, I want you to come on stage and dance with me if I win. I said, sure. And it turned into a big dance party because that's what we all wanted to do. So it was a lot of fun to do that. I felt it was a great ceremony. Did it go on a little bit long camera-wise? Yeah. I mean, we really didn't know how to close it out. I eventually just stopped dancing and walked off stage, but it was great. I felt it was a lot better than going to commercial and then coming out and talking.
That's for sure. Did you guys think though that the credits were gonna run?
Yeah, that's what Froden said. Yeah, they were supposed to run, but they didn't.
It's funny because I remember standing there with Kennigan. We were like, shouldn't the credits be running now? Like, this is perfect if the credits were running, but I think it was still it wasn't perfect, but it was still damn good. Given it just kind of went on. It's like. People kept dancing at least, not like everyone just stood there. That would have been awkward.
It was great. And Stefano really liked it as well, I thought. He was having a blast. He was dancing everywhere.
Yeah.
And he just won $30,000. To the bank. To the bank. Next question. Do you, as people involved in the esports scene, think we'll ever see a fairer balance in the invite-only, same old kind of tournament structure as compared to completely open format?
I cut that off a little bit because it was a couple paragraphs, but he's talking about invite only having like a lot of the same players compared to
I don't think there's that many invite only tournaments as there were.
They're like they're more qualifiers.
Yeah.
I think the scene is at a point now where it's like there's enough qualifiers out there that you can't complain about it anymore. It's like, oh, I didn't get invited to Home Story Cup. Then it's like, well, go qualify for MLG, IPL. Even Asus ROG, which has generally been invite-only, had open qualifiers. Like NASL is open qualifiers. You just have to actually qualify for it. Then you're in the league. Like, and I think logistically, there's so many qualifiers and so many tournaments now that's like you can't keep doing it. I mean, there's a big uproar about the IPL qualifiers being held on weekends. There's one last weekend, so Idra and Control Hot and so forth, they couldn't play in it, right? So.
Yeah, and honestly, I think part of the reason we just see the same old people and the same old kinds of tournaments is because we're at the point in the game where people are just better than, like, consistently better. Like, the game is stable enough and has matured enough that you have consistent top performers. So,
and I think, honestly, with the way the scene is, it's like you sometimes can't have him just open qualifiers because it's like the players need to get there, and sometimes you need... you need to invite sponsored players to your tournaments who have teams that will, pay to get their travel or pay to get their hotel or any number of different things to make your event work. It's not, these tournaments are not making tons of money, right? So,
especially nowadays.
To answer the question, I feel like we have a balance. Basically, I think it's pretty good now.
Yeah, especially nowadays. There's like a tournament every weekend. You can't really like expect players to travel around the world every weekend and play through opens and stuff like that. So I think we're in a pretty good spot. I mean, it's very hard, especially outside of Korea, as an up-and-coming player to break into the scene, but it's still possible. Like, you have that opportunity to go to an event and try to compete and show up. And I mean, look at an MLG. We have people come through the open and dominate all the time. So.
Yeah, I also feel that the semi-pro scene is getting bigger and bigger, and that allows for the semi-pro players to kind of foster their growth and to get better and better within those tournament-style formats. Maybe not as big as an NASL or an MLG, but when they can reach that professional grade, they have had experience in front of a crowd or on a stage or sitting at a different desk or a different computer or a different chair, compared to just sitting, at home, and to be well accustomed to participating in tournaments. And I feel as the majors grow, the semi-pro or the minors will continue to grow as well, and that will foster more and more growth. And even look at the CSL, having the collegiate sports or StarCraft League, fostering that growth is, as well. Being in the same age range is pretty much a lot of the demographic that consumes esports online, watching the videos and stuff. So it's a really good time to be in, guys. I mean, thinking of what esports was with StarCraft 2 years ago, even though the game was new, one bench at MLG compared to now.
What were they thinking, man?
To Canada. Oh, it's so crazy. So crazy to think about that stuff, man. How far we've come and how exciting it is to be involved in this and to see what's going to happen in the future. It's really cool to see. All right, I have had my guests on for a while. Dave needs to go to sleep.
Yeah.
He is late tired. I want to thank everyone that called in, thank everybody that supports Shifting Gears. I actually mentioned the show when I was prepping tribes, when the casters were getting ready, and had some cheers for Shifting Gears, so I'm grateful for everybody that watched the show. And really appreciate everyone that came out to Canada. You guys completely delivered, and it was an honor to be in your country. We appreciate the warm welcome that we received, and I want to congratulate NASL for an amazing season, and I truly thank them for making the decision to hire me to be a host for them. And from making that Reddit post and then realizing, what have I done? Like, I let my passion get the better of me. This probably looks really unprofessional, and having esports management group in my corner to smooth everything over and make sure that that all was well. And then NASL made the decision to bring me out. I was super excited, and I was really glad that we all got to hit this one out of the park. It was really a blast. So, with that being said, Wigan, do you have any closing thoughts or shoutouts?
Just follow me on Twitter at DBWigan, and that's really it, man. I'm exhausted. Sorry. Thanks for having me, Josh.
All right, man. Pleasure. Thanks for being a trooper. For esports, man. For esports. Yeah. I want to thank Froden for coming on. Also want to thank Adebisi for coming on, filling in when Froden had to take off. Any shout-outs, my friend? Oh, well, first off, check out Adebisi's content on GameSpot. He did a great job all weekend with some great interviews. And
great interviews and much better hair than Slasher.
You have Adebisi, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, it's GameSpot.com/esports, basically all there. Slasher did also just put up a new article.
He did. And here's the link.
There's the big war of comments going on.
Comment, guys. Go support esports there.
Of the people who are from GameSpot, the regulars who are like, what is this? And a lot of people shitting on it. And then all the esports people coming in. So that article, I think it's probably already got way more comments than anything else on GameSpot. So it's probably good enough as it is. But check that out. And feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'll be doing the in-game directing or observing, whatever you want to call it, for DreamHack WCS Nordic, which is going to be awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped about just WCS in general. I think the way DreamHack is doing it with like non-simultaneous events is going to be pretty awesome. I think it's the same venue as the Stockholm Open, so it's like the one where In Control is out on that like circular thing, you know, and so I'm pretty hyped for that. And then Asus ROG after that. And they're the Good Studios producing that. I'll be staying with them before that, so
cool.
I'm pretty excited about all that. That should be fun.
Those are fun, guys.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, it was funny on Too Good Show today. They wanted to call Lauren, and so in chat I was like, "You guys, like, you want Lauren's number?" And James was hitting me up on Skype, like, give me your number. I was like, no, you're going to have to follow her on Twitter, man. Ask her on Twitter. So I was trying to pump her Twitter, trolled them, gave them the old bait and switch, and the chat's like, Clutch, how could you? How could you do this? But, hey, man, if Lauren's going to premiere on a show, it's going to be mine, and she did, so it was awesome. Thanks, Adebisi. Really happy for you, my friend. It feels such a long time ago that we were starting out with the Community Caster program, and look where we are now. So it's great. It's crazy. All right. Well, in closing, I'd like to say please follow me on Twitter at Clutch08. You can watch the show Shifting Gears every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Shifting Gears. Want to thank Esports Management Group. I know I signed with them recently, guys. You probably saw the news, but we've got some cool things cooking right now, and be able to reveal more stuff down the line. You can watch me this weekend at the MLG Summer Arena. I will be hosting. It's going to be a different format this time. There is a free stream, and that is being sponsored by Full Sail University. I believe that's what Sundance tweeted. And I may be making a lot of Batman references when I do interviews and stuff. I apologize ahead of time because I'm going to see The Dark Knight Rises at midnight. And 2 weeks after that movie comes out, I'll be reviewing it with my buddy Matt B. He'll come on the show, so look forward to that. That's everything for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night, and I'll see you next week. Take care.